Good morning, AlmostBros. It is time for my video of the week. As you may recall, 2 weeks ago I did a video describing how awesome this video game, Legend of Dragoon, was. However, at the end of this video I did say that Legend of Dragoon is better than Final Fantasy VII in my opinion. So I feel like I have to justify this claim, so I'm going to do that in this video now. Watch, be merry, have fun. There's a lot of spoilers. Don't watch it if you don't want spoilers. So, Legend of Dragoon is this game where you're trying to just basically... In fact, the plot points of how to describe Legend of Dragoon is exactly how I would describe Final Fantasy VII. So Legend of Dragoon, you have these people that are trying to stop this war from happening, and then in Final Fantasy VII, you have these people who are trying to stop this evil organization. In both cases, they kind of get sidetracked and end up trying to save the world. However, it's not even just that overarching theme that's connected, it's even the smallest points. So I'm going to go into that. So in Legend of Dragoon you play as Dart, and in Final Fantasy VII you play as Cloud. Both of them are protagonists, and both of them have had their childhood homes burned down. Wow. Oddly enough, they both end up seeking revenge on the people that they tried to burn their home. However, this is one of the very few differing points in the games, because in Legend of Dragoon you find out the person who burned your home down is actually somebody who's in your party. Though I suppose if one really takes a look at it, Sephiroth does end up joining your party in one of Cloud's flashbacks, so I guess it's not that much of it. Also, I'd like to be noted that Final Fantasy VII is actually older than Legend of Dragoon. In Final Fantasy VII, there's this character named Yuffie that you have to fight, and then once you fight her, you can talk to her, or you can actually talk to her during the fight, I believe, and then you can get her on. Interestingly enough, there's a character in Legend of Dragoon that you fight before you get him on your party. His name is Kongol. However, he is not an optional character, which I think, in fact, kind of makes it better. Oddly enough, these are both the comic relief characters, though Final Fantasy VII did have more comic relief characters than Legend. In both of these games, you don't actually fight the main villain until the very end, which becomes like a multi-layered stage process. In Legend of Dragoon, you've had 3 stages of final boss, and in Final Fantasy VII, it's arguably 2 stages, depending on how you fight the first. I'm going to get a lot of hate for that. In both Final Fantasy VII and Legend of Dragoon, one of the main characters died. In Final Fantasy VII, one of the most influential moments in video game history happens, which is when Sephiroth stares Aerith/Eris. It's really confusing, and nobody knows what her actual name is. In fact, even the Final Fantasy VII movie references the fact that nobody knows what her real. However, in Legend of Dragoon, this character named Lavitz gets speared with this magic dragoon sword. I think that this death is even made more worse because later in the game you end up fighting the ghost of Lavitz, who has been actually taken over by this demon. In both games, one of the main enemies realizes their mistakes and tries to correct them, sometimes overcorrect. In Final Fantasy VII, you have Rufus Shinra realizing what he did and trying to stop the weapons. Unfortunately, this results in his quote-unquote death, even though he reappears in Final Fantasy VII of its children. In Legend of Dragoon, you have Lloyd. Lloyd is the person who actually ended up killing Lavitz, but he realizes that he was in way too over his head and tries to stop Dart's father, who is actually possessed by the evil character Mabu Frama, who was supposed to have died 10,000 years ago in the Wingley War. And the last thing that I'm going to touch on is that both games have their mentor figures, the main character's mentor figures, die. I believe this is made even further more painful to the player in Legend of Dragoon because Dart's mentor was Rose, who was actually his dad's lover, and they end up sacrificing themselves in the end together. In Final Fantasy VII, you just get Zack, who just sacrifices himself in a flashback. Granted, if you played Crisis Core, this is made way more destroying to your soul, but I just don't think in the actual gameplay, the single story of both of these games, I don't think the Final Fantasy VII mentor death is as effective as it could have been. Because, to be quite honest, you can actually skip the flashback. So, yeah, those are the plot points. Some people will say that Final Fantasy VII is better because, there's so much more to do, so many extra side quests. But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about the plot points. I'm just talking about the game. Like what people are in it for. Not what everybody's in it for. Not what some people are in it for. I'm just if you play the game, what you're going to get out of it, Legend of Dragoon, 9 times out of 10 is better. So that's just me ranting. Yeah. I love the punishment video, Noah, and I am excited to see Paige sniff her school. That is going to be sweet. So, until further ado, I wish all of you goodbye and have fun. I love all your faces. By the way, Ego Raptor, if you do end up watching this, I'd be greatly pleased to know what you think about this video, because, I don't know, I just like your stuff, so. Bye. Also, because of this challenge month, I will be challenging Noah to open his present on his next video, and Paige must review our channel as a whole.